Schönen guten Abend. Muss man ein bisschen durchsetzen. Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, noch zu voll, hört man mich? Liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen, darf ich ein bisschen um Ihre Aufmerksamkeit bitten. Zu Beginn vielleicht ein paar Worte von meiner Seite. Markus Bogensberger vom HDA hat mich gebeten, vielleicht ein paar einleitende Worte hier zu sprechen. Und erstmal darf ich Sie im Namen der Architekturfakultät Sie alle ganz herzlich begrüßen hier. Dank diverser jüngst angeordneter Renovierungsmaßnahmen erstrahlt unsere Aula ja in neuem Glanz. Und ich finde es also sehr passend und sehr schön, dass wir Sie heute Abend gleich also standesgemäß hier mit so einer schönen Veranstaltung einweihen können. Und ich möchte nur sagen, liebes HDA, lieber Markus Bogensberger samt Team, herzlich willkommen an der TU, an unserer Fakultät. Und ich möchte die Gelegenheit eigentlich gerne nutzen, um ganz deutlich zu bekunden, dass die Zusammenarbeit mit dem HDA, welches ja den heutigen Abend und die zugehörige Ausstellung ab morgen auch organisiert hat, für uns eine besondere Bedeutung hat. Und das rührt also nicht nur daher, dass wir naturgemäß gemeinsame Interessen haben und verfolgen, sondern beruht auch auf der Tatsache, dass wir gemeinsam durch viele Veranstaltungen bei uns oder im HDA wechselseitig regelmäßig versuchen, einen Beitrag zu einer lebendigen und sehr interessanten Architekturszene in Graz zu leisten. Und ein Bestreben, das wir übrigens auch ständig fortführen, also wir sind im Moment unterhalten uns darüber, wie wir gemeinsam unterstützen können, nächstes Jahr eine sehr schöne Veranstaltung über unsere Fakultät im HDA zustande zu kriegen, und das ist, da bin ich ganz guter Hoffnung, dass das gelingt. Ganz herzlich begrüßen in Graz möchte ich daher heute Abend an Lacaton, auf deren Vortrag wir schon sehr gespannt sind. Und Markus wird uns hierzu gleich eine genauere Einführung geben und sie auch vorstellen. Trotzdem würde ich mir gerne erlauben, zu versuchen, einige Worte in Französisch an Sie persönlich zu richten. So, maintenant, je vais passer au français. Je dois avouer que j'ai appris ces quelques mots par cœur pour pouvoir vous dire dans votre langue, Anne, combien nous nous réjouissons de vous accueillir ici à Graz. Je vous souhaite la très chaleureuse bienvenue au nom de la faculté d'architecture de Graz. Et c'est vraiment un grand plaisir que de pouvoir vous écouter ce soir, nous parler de votre travail. Merci und danke.
Ja, vielen Dank, Stefan Peters, vor allem auch für die französischen Worte, weil ich spreche wirklich absolut kein Wort Französisch. So gesehen ist das für den heutigen Abend einmal abgedeckt. Sehr geehrte Damen und Herren, liebe Architekturinteressierte, herzlich willkommen zu der heutigen Veranstaltung, zum Vortrag von Anne Lacaton mit dem Titel Reinvent im Rahmen der Ausstellung Druot, Lacaton und Vassal, Bois, Prêtre, die sich mit der Transformation eines 1960er-Jahre-Wohnhauses in Paris auseinandersetzt. Die heutige Veranstaltung ist eine Kooperation zwischen dem Haus der Architektur und der Architekturfakultät der TU Graz. Und ich möchte mich ganz herzlich bei Dekan Stefan Peters, aber auch bei Studiendekan Hans Gangoli und bei Dekanatsdirektorin Barbara Herz für die gute Zusammenarbeit bedanken. Es freut uns, dass Sie so zahlreich erschienen sind. Und ich möchte bei dieser Gelegenheit auch gern alle Mitglieder der Fakultät begrüßen. Die Ausstellung findet im Rahmen des Steirischen Herbsts statt, der ja heute am Abend in der Listhalle eröffnet wird, und wird morgen um 12 Uhr im HDA im Rahmen des Eröffnungsrundganges gestartet, sozusagen. Frau Lacaton wird auch morgen anwesend sein, und die Kuratoren Ilka und Andreas Ruby werden das Konzept und die Ausstellung auch morgen erläutern. Ich möchte Sie gleich herzlich einladen, auch morgen anwesend zu sein. Kuratiert wurde die Ausstellung, wie gesagt, von Ilka und Andreas Ruby in Zusammenarbeit mit Something Fantastic, die ich hiermit hier auch gerne begrüßen möchte und auch für die gute Zusammenarbeit danken möchte. Der zugehörige, sehr informativ und schön gestaltete Katalog ist heute draußen vor der Aula erhältlich. Außerdem liegt ein Manifest von Frédéric Druot an Lacaton und Jean-Philippe Vassal zur freien Entnahme auf. Ich möchte nun auf Englisch fortfahren und kurz an Lacaton vorstellen. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce Mrs. Anne Lacaton. Anne Lacaton was born in France in 1985. She graduated from the School of Architecture of Bordeaux in 1980 and got a diploma in urban planning at the university in Bordeaux. All numbers are delivered by the office, so. She was visiting professor at numerous universities, at University of Madrid, École Polytechnique in Lausanne, Oslo School of Architecture, as well as in Harvard GSD Studio Kenzodange, in Paris, University of Florida, Ian Smith Studio, University of New York at Buffalo, the Clarkson Chair, and currently at the Pavillon Neuflis OBC in the Palais de Tokyo in Paris. She works in partnership with Jean-Philippe Vassal. The office, Lacaton and Vassal, based in Paris, has a practice in France, as well as an international practice working on various programs of public buildings, housing, and urban planning. The main works completed by the office are the recently opened FRAC, a contemporary art center in Dunkirk, the Palais de Tokyo, Paris, which turned into a world-famous site for contemporary creation, the Architecture School in Nantes, the House La Tapie in Florac, the Site Manifeste in Mulhouse, and over the last years, the transformation of modernist social housing estates as the Tour Prêtre in Paris. You also might know the coffee and restaurant at the Architekturzentrum in Vienna, which was also designed by Lacaton and Vassal. One of the main awards they received is the Grand Prix National de Architecture in France 2008. Lacaton and Vassal have excited the attention of the media and authorities in the field on an international level over the past few years, working their way with the projects and buildings to the top league of impulse-giving architects on a global level. The widespread interest in the architecture is based on the sovereign use of simple materials and the differentiated treatment of space and its social usage. Baunetz announced our exhibition under the title of The Most Radical Architects of Our Time. Please give a warm welcome to Anne Lacaton.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to come back in Graz. It's already 10 years that I did a lecture here, so I think that there are new things to say today, and I will give a lecture which is connected to the exhibition in the Haus der Architektur, and especially about the transformation of the existing, especially the modernist social housing. The project which is presented in the exhibition, the transformation of the Tour Bois-le-Prêtre in Paris, as well as some of the projects which I will present in the lecture, continue a research and a study that we started in the early 2000s together with Frédéric Druot, a French architect. And this study was about the question of changing the gaze on the modernist high-rise estates, what to do with very large neighborhoods, how to look at these eras, highly criticized and often rejected. It's also on the question of housing in general today. We started to work on this study in response to the program of the urban renovation initiated in France by the government in the early 2000s. And this program was specially done for the territories of suburbs. This important national program was based on the demolition and reconstruction on a very large number of dwellings now, 10 years after, more than 150,000 dwellings have been already torn down. And to our opinion, at the moment when this program was launched, was that the demolition is a great mistake, the worst solution. And as architects, we couldn't accept that all these neighborhoods built in 60s, 70s with a very optimistic and generous intentions could be so bad that the only solution was to demolish and rebuild something new. So we were very much involved in that question, and we decided to study some cases with a great difficulty to find, to contact the administration and to find some realistic sites, because what we proposed was really against what is a different alternative, and what was really against what the government was ready to do. So we, I will come back a little on this study, because it helps to understand the projects, the one which is shown in the exhibition, but also the others. To our opinion, as I said, the demolition was a great mistake, and on the different cases that we studied, our goal was to prove that the transformation in any case was a better solution, more positive, more economical, more attentive to people, and able to offer more and better. We name this study PLUS. PLUS is first an attitude, and you can read this manifesto in the exhibition, but I can just say some words. Plus is an attitude, never demolishing, never subtracting or replacing things, always adding, transforming, and reusing. Plus is to work with precision, delicacy, amiability, and attentiveness to everything which is already there. Being attentive to people, to uses, to buildings, to trees, anything. It's a matter of causing the least inconvenience or no inconvenience at all. Plus is being generous, giving more, facilitating uses, making the life more pleasant and comfortable. Plus is to do more by making good use and taking advantage of the existing and its capacities, and by transforming the existing efficiently so as to obtain new, high, undeniable and durable qualities. Plus is an healthy attitude of optimism. Transforming, using what already exists, obliges to observe from inside and not far away from outside, as close as possible. Transforming you obliges to understand, to be curious, to look positively, and to take advantage of what is already there as an opportunity and an additional value. Adding, joining, expanding, superimposing, spanning the existing structures is always more interesting than starting from a place before and clean and empty. So a few words about this study. We studied very basic cases, such as this one, which was la Cité de la Courneuve in Paris, which was the first city built in the suburb of Paris with more than 4,000 dwellings. Now only a few buildings are remaining. All the others have been torn down. And we were interested to study these very basic big buildings, and not to study the buildings which has been made by famous architects, which, in another hand, are already listed or protected by the culture or the government. So that's this very strong images of the demolition that we could see in France in the last 10 years. And just some numbers to let you understand the importance of this program. This program, the government decided to spend more than 80 billion euros for the nation program on the left. This program was divided in two parts. One, the main part was more than 15 billion spent for the demolition of 113,200 dwellings, rebuilt less than what was demolished. It means a loss of 8,200 dwellings. And in the other hand, 3 billion spent for a very little renovation of 241,300 dwellings, sorry. And this very low renovation with per dwelling 13,500, which allows to make only to refurbish electricity, paintings, and little plumbing, but it doesn't allow to bring a new life and a deep renovation to this building. So it means that the demolition and rebuild, to compare the two amounts per dwelling, demolition and rebuild is around 150 to 180,000 euros to demolish and rebuild one dwelling. So what we propose to study when doing no demolition was to spend the 18 billions for a very high standard transformation of all the dwellings, the one which were planned to be torn down, but also the other one. That means per dwelling 53,200 euros, and this allows a very good transformation of the building, as we will see in the next projects. So, and we studied carefully some examples like this one. These blocks were planned to be torn down. This one too, in the suburb of Paris. This one in Nantes, in another city in the west of France. And we studied carefully this building, and we tried to understand first why it was so bad now, when at the origin such this building, which was in another part of Paris, based on the same way of buildings, the same construction systems. It was also social housing, but in that case, that was a very good architect, Fernand Pouillon, who did a good, very good project, and he worked on these buildings on thinking on the quality of life inside, the quality of dwellings, when many times in many of high-rise estates, it was a big number, a big amount of dwellings built at the same time, and this big amount, they built 1,000 and 1,000 dwellings a year. So finally, the care given to one dwelling was not existing. So we could, in making the parallel between these situations, like this one in Transvaal, a very good quality of the living space is here, the living room with large windows, with balconies, taking the benefit of the view in these high buildings. It's exactly what was missing in many of very basic buildings, which were built very fast, and many times in good conditions of construction, but with not a lot of care to the quality of space, the quality of architecture, quality of common facilities, and so on. So for us, it was interesting to think that what was not done at the time could be done now, and to bring the buildings with the same quality as what we have here. These buildings, nobody thinks now to tear down them. They are in very good state, and they are very well maintained. And we thought that it was not so difficult, starting from the quality of the housing, starting from the inside, to think what can we bring that this living space don't have, and that could change radically the quality of housing inside. So it's very important for us to start from the minimum space and not to start from the master plan and to go to the little scale, but to start from the small scale to the large scale. So on this basis, it was possible on all the examples that we decided to study, it was possible to make these transformations in all the cases, and finally with 50,000 euros we could make this very good transformation to bring a new life to these buildings and also to bring a new quality to the housing for the families. So open the walls when there is a very small window and gain the view and make an extension in front. It's not a lot, but it changes radically the life inside. Making extensions when the flats are too small, and that was also possible to make it, and also to make it without emptying the building. It means that it was important in the study to find the method in order to keep people inside, because one of the problems, for example, in France, is that we miss a lot of dwellings, and especially in Paris and in the suburbs. And when they need to renovate a building and to empty the building, it's a very long process to find empty dwellings to remove 100, 200 families. So it was important for us, this process, to study the possibility to make the transformation without removing or with removing a very few person inside. Also, this transformation could be the opportunity to reintegrate common facilities that very often has disappeared in the building. There are just a few buildings now where there are housekeepers, where there are common space. It's also the possibility to introduce mixed use in the lower levels, for example, offices that could be mixed. Offices for companies, but also offices which could be used by people living in the same building or in the neighborhood, but also facilities for the community. Everything that can reintroduce links, relationships between people, because one of the problems in these neighborhoods is that they have become only residential. And people are very often, they stay at home. They have no more links with the others because there is so many problems and nothing to do outside. So the links between people are very often cut. And also the reuse of the roofs that could become more interesting terraces or little gardens. And we went quite far in this study, and we studied all the technical aspects in terms of structures, of secondary systems, and also in terms of cost, because it was very important to defend the idea that transformation is less expensive than demolition and rebuild, because very often you will listen quite always this word that no, we cannot transform because it's too expensive. It's better to demolish and rebuild. We were talking this morning about the Palast der Republik in Berlin, and you say that they spent a lot of money to take away asbestos. But finally, when asbestos was not anymore here, the building was quite new, and it was possible to reuse it, but finally they demolished it. So it was very important to go against this idea that transformation of the existing costs more than demolition and rebuild. And for example, this building, we did some quite detailed project to know what was possible to make new housing inside. And making this work from the inside, from the quality of living space, produce at the end a very big transformation of the building, and the same transformation in a way that of the image that's a demolition and rebuild. It was also interesting to study the possibility of using better the land around the buildings and to densify a little bit around around the buildings to introduce public equipment or other functions. So this study was not really used, and finally we gave it to different ministries, but it was put under the table. But we arrived to publish it in Spain, and we could continue to work on that question with very few examples. Finally, we are more invited to talk about it than to do it, and maybe it's one of the negative situation that we can observe today, that it's good examples, it's very interesting to know that it exists, but many times when it's a moment to decide to do it, the decision is not here, and finally the owners make as they did before, just making insulation or just a low renovation. But we could even do some project, and this one was one of the first that we had the opportunity to do in Paris. This building belongs to the city of Paris through the company of social housing, and it's inside the ring of Paris. The ring of Paris is here, and the building is here. So this building was part of developments made in the early 60s in Paris, and that was quite a good architecture made by a famous architect, Raymond Lopez, who did also some buildings like that, not only in France, but also in Berlin. So the condition of living and housing at the time was quite good, with a lot of community space on the ground floor under these high columns. But in the early 80s, when it was time to start to insulate the buildings to save energy, it was transformed in that way, with just a new cladding around, with insulation, with panels, pink panels with asbestos. But this work was done without any care of the quality inside. And this new cladding and what they did around with the grids to close the entrance, this new facade with little windows, when they had before in front loggias with a view, very small windows and less natural light. So when around there is a very large overview all around. So this renovation made in the 80s finally allowed maybe to spend a little amount of energy during 10 years, but we can see that it was not sufficient to bring a long new life to the buildings. And 20 years later, it was necessary again to make something on this building, which was become very bad. It was called Alcatraz in this part of Paris, because the situation has become very bad. So the city organized a competition. They had in mind first to demolish it, but For different reasons, they decided not to do it and to keep it, because maybe because they found some difficulties to find 100 dwellings on the neighborhoods to relocate the inhabitants. So we applied to the competition, and we could make the competition with four other teams. So our project that we proposed for the competition was based on a few main ideas. The first one, as I explained before, was to say that the topic of the competition was metamorphosis of the Tour Bois le Prêtre in Paris. It means that they expected a strong change of the image of the building. So we said first that, in fact, we were not interested in changing the shape. For us, the problem was not coming that it was a high block. It was coming of the bad conditions of housing inside. So we proposed that first we would work from the quality of housing of each dwelling, and we could consider that finally each dwelling was like a house, and that it was not a block with 100 families, but a kind of a village with 100 families living here. So the observation that we could do from the dwelling, that the building is existing is in white, was that everything was a little too small, and especially the living rooms, which were around 15 to 16 square meters. Many times they were overcrowded. It means that the family with 2 children has only 2 bedrooms. So that was a situation which was not really convenient enough to give good condition. So we proposed to start from this observation and to propose an extension of all the dwellings in front of the facade. All the dwellings should benefit of this extension. Then the second main idea was to develop a method of works that allowed to make the construction and the renovation without removing the inhabitants. It means that the inhabitants could stay in the block during the works. And then there was a secondary proposition of changing the elevators, to add 2 new elevators to increase the rapidity of moving inside, and also to make some interior works, bathrooms, kitchens, and so on. So for this project, it was important to develop the method of construction, which was very adapted to this question of occupied site. So it's why we started to think to develop a module of construction for the extension, which could be built outside of the site, because we didn't have land around the block to make this pieces on the place. And then these modules could be built in front of the facade, and they could also be used as scaffolding to take away the facades. We had to take away the 2 facades, the one of the 80s, but also the original one of the 70s, and both had asbestos, so it was also an important and difficult work, and very expensive too. And this module was, of extension was 3 meters large. 2 meters was an intermediate space. It means that we had 2 facades. One is a glass facade with sliding doors that replaced the existing facade, and the other one was lighter and could be widely open to close the winter garden for some season, but that could be also widely open for the summer. And also there were 2 kinds of curtains. This one inside is is a thermal curtain, and this one was the solar protection. And in front, 1 meter balcony to give also the opportunity to have an outside. and also to allow to clean easily all the facades. So the project was, we won the competition, and the project was accepted, and we started the process of study. That was here the section of the extension. Here it was the place of the existing facade, and this module here in front, which was built in steel because due to the conditions of the construction site, it was very important that the module was as light as possible. It's why we couldn't do it in concrete, because half of the construction for the crane was made without, in blind conditions. It means that we couldn't remove the crane on the two sides of the construction. So the crane was on one side for all the construction, and the other side was built. The driver of the crane couldn't see what he was doing, so everything was piloted by cameras or by talkie-walkies. But it was very important to study a light structure. So that was one of the main points of the study, to arrive to develop a module which was around 5 to 7 tons, when in concrete it was nearly 20. So that was a very important study of calculating at the minimum the structure needed, because the structure is totally independent. Here you can see there are two columns, because it couldn't be supported by the existing building, because we didn't know how it was built in reality, and we didn't know if the existing could support the loads of this new construction. So this was totally independent, just attached at every floor. And also the possibility to have the same level inside of the existing and inside of the winter garden, as well as, if possible, the same level on the ceiling. The floors at the time were 18 centimeters, so nowadays it's quite difficult to make a floor in 18 centimeters. So it was quite a great challenge for the construction. And also because we need a fire resistance of 1 hour and a half. So all these conditions make it quite difficult. But it's what we have to do as architects or as engineers. It's not the main problem. The section of the block before and after with the extension. For us, it was very important that all the dwellings should have the same facilities, and not to choose some others, because we didn't care that the building was all the same, that we didn't make any differences between different levels. If we consider the situation from inside, it was important to give this extension to all the buildings. We have to discuss a little bit with the administration, because normally now in Paris the level of construction is limited to 37 meters high. So here we could have done only 10 levels or 11 levels, but the administration of the city understood that, of course, it was stupid to stop at 37, so they accepted to change the local regulation so that we could make the extension up to the top of the building. And then, just after the competition, we started a quite long process of discussing with inhabitants, because we proposed that the inhabitants could stay during the construction. It was very important to consider that they were partners in the process, and not only inhabitants that we have just to inform. And we started a long period of meetings to explain the project, to inform about the extension, about how it will proceed. And we did first special questions, and step by step we arrived to individual questions. It means that at the end we met finally every family, one after one, to see where they were living and what special needs we could do in their dwelling. We also discussed with the owner, and we asked as architect, we asked the owner to say immediately to the inhabitants what about the rents after the works, because it was of course an important question for the inhabitants. What will we pay after the works? It was important that it could remain affordable for the families who are living there. It's social housing. All the housing are rented. The owner at the first meeting said clearly that there will be discussion with the association of the inhabitants, and he engaged that there will not increase too important for the rents, and the little increase was balanced by the fact that we changed the heating, we changed a lot of systems, we changed the elevators, we save a lot of energy by adding these winter gardens, because the reduction of consumption of energy was cut in two. The cost of the rent was balanced by the reduction of the expenses for the heating and all the other expenses. So finally, for the tenants, I think that at the maximum the increase was 7 to 10 euros per month, because the situation were very, very different. Some families living here for 40 years, of course they have rents lower than families who came here 2 or 3 years ago. But they had a very clear discussion in between the owner and the association, and they could arrive to a good agreement. But it was only for the inhabitants who stay in the building. It means that it's not sure that it will be the same for the new inhabitants after the completion of the building. We don't know exactly that. But for the inhabitants, that was the case. And also we discussed with the owner that it was important to also to check the situation of the people and to make a very transparent process, because when we visited all the dwellings to see how it was inside, to see what were exactly the problems, I think we were first very touched by the atmosphere that we felt in all the dwellings. From the outside, the building is really awful. From the inside, there was a kind of beauty coming from what the people have put in the apartments. So we can find that decoration we don't like it, but always it was made with a lot of care, a lot of pleasure, and we could meet a lot of family who liked to be here, who liked their dwelling. So for us it was an incredible strength, but also we felt that we should arrive to the end, that we couldn't fail, because we, in a way, we had promised something to these people, and it was really necessary to go to the end. So this work was quite interesting, because we could also meet all the people, and especially those who would never come to the meetings. And we could see also through this visit of all apartments that around 40% of the families were not in the right dwelling. Some old families with only 2 people, because the family has gone, they had very big dwellings with 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms for 2 persons. And in the opposite, some younger families had more children, and they have a very small apartments. But no one asked to change, because they wanted to stay on the neighborhood. They wanted to stay on the place, and they were afraid that if they asked for a new dwelling, they should have to move in the suburb or somewhere in Paris. So they preferred, for the old persons, they preferred to pay a higher rent and to have a big apartment instead of asking to move. So we asked to the owner that this process should be very transparent and that we could clarify the situation of every family. And there was a discussion with sociologists and all the families, and finally we received an amount of information which allowed to us to try to replace the families at the right place. So this is this scheme. All these arrows mean that the people moved from one apartment to this one, and that was the moves that were operated in the block. But it's not only it was not only a question of the size of the typology. It was also there was also more personal desires that we have to manage. For example, I remember an old lady who didn't want to have a view on the cemetery, and she was okay to change, but she wants special conditions, not to be too high, not to see on the cemetery. So finally, after some hard work, we arrived to relocate everybody, and everybody was okay with the situation. We had also some special situation here, what you see it, décohabitation. It means that it's one or two families with 18 persons. We had who had apartment with 2 or 3 bedrooms, and in that case, the owner didn't want to have 2 big dwellings, but they agreed finally that they could have 2 or 3 apartments. So that was all this game that we could arrive to solve at the end. Just some data to resume that the extension. The global extension is 40% of the floor area. We had 96 dwellings, and at the end 100, and some especially arranged for disabled people. The addition of winter garden and balconies extends between 22 square meters to 60 square meters the dwellings. The energy saving for the heating is cut in 2. It means less 50%, just by the addition of the winter gardens and also some renovation of the installation. And the cost of these works were 11.2 millions, compared to the demolition and rebuild, 20 millions. And this is the number which was given by the owner, because he estimated that before he decided to make this project. And the building was occupied during the construction. Then we started the process of construction with the contractor. We had to struggle a little bit with the contractor because it was a very big firm, a French firm, and they wanted to make it in concrete. And we had to struggle because we were really sure that it was the mistake due to what I explained about this question of weight. So we had sometimes to have to say that we will stop the project if we couldn't go on in the process of the structure that we had defined. But finally, everything came in the right way, and we could build as we planned to do it. So that was the prototype of the module, which was done on the site of the contractor. And then we started the process of construction. In a way, there were 2 construction works. One which was outside for the extension, that follow, of course, a process from down to top, and another process which was the inside works, which could be done anywhere. Because it was not depending on the structure, so we could refurbish one dwelling here and another one here. It was the two processes were totally independent. So we started the construction of the modules. We couldn't do exactly as we expected. It means that build the volume, bring the volume, and then take away the facade. because finally it was not very clever to transport a module because you transport a lot of air. So it means it's very expensive, and they prefer to transport elements, separated elements, floors, handrails, and just to make the assemblage on the site. So we did first work of taking away the facade. Then we replaced from the top to down by the new facade, and then we put some temporary handrails, and then we started the process of construction of the modules. So they bring the floors on the side, then they build the handrail, they put the windows of the winter garden on the floor, and then they elevate all the system. So the schedule of construction was 6 to 7 modules a day. We had 150 modules to build. So it took 3 months to make all the additions around the extensions around the building. And then there was another 3 months to make the protection of the steel structure for the fire resistance. And after again 3 months, that was the building was completed. So from the existing to the new one, just by this work of starting from the inside and trying to give air, to give more view, to give more space and more quality of life. So just some pictures before and after. The entrance before, the entrance now. On this picture you can see the 2 columns of this 3 meters extension. Only the balconies are in concrete. Sorry. So the entrance, which was very narrow before, with the steps inside, we changed the floor outside to bring it at the same level and to facilitate the access. This apartment that you saw before and after the extension. So many times the work has been done just after the window. So we took care for some apartments just to work from the window to the outside. And the appropriation of these new extensions that came step by step. In many cases, like this one, and especially for quite old people, they didn't want to change so much the inside, and we really took care to keep everything on the place and to make a quite precise work from the facade. So you will see these pictures in the exhibition. The photos are at a scale 1:1. So you have the feeling that you are inside the dwellings. The curtains, the thermal curtains, which are very efficient for behind the windows to also to participate to saving energy. We used for a long time in a very intuitive way, but now in France they have got a label to use it, and we can introduce these curtains in the calculation for the thermal calculations. And again, the view very far away in front that all the dwellings have lost through the renovation of the 80s. Another project that we are starting nearly at the same time, but which is not totally completed, but very close to be completed. It's a very different situation in a small city in the west of France, on the seaside, Saint-Nazaire. Saint-Nazaire was a city which was totally rebuilt after the World War. And all these neighborhoods are characterize really this city. So here we are in a neighborhood of nearly 500 to 600 dwellings. All these 4 blocks have been demolished and replaced by very little, very low building. And we had to work on this one. The commission was to make renovation, but also they were open and they were expecting that we propose more than just a transformation. The budget was 40,000 euros per dwelling for this block, and we started to work on that project. So a few images of the situation. This building was not really appreciated by the inhabitants, and it was half empty. We don't know exactly why, but maybe it was very close to the street with not a lot of green space around, large car parking in front. Some pictures of the construction, which was very important to see, because we could observe that the system of construction was very rigid. It was made with concrete tunnels. We didn't find any plans, any details, any calculations. So it means that it was quite impossible to imagine to open any door, anything inside, because if not, maybe the cost would have been very, very expensive. So we started to work with the same ideas that those we developed in the Plus and the project in Paris, always starting from the situation of the dwelling inside to see what was missing. And we arrived here again that it was interesting to make extensions. But also, because the situation was very different as the one in Paris, and we had a lot of empty space around the blocks, because the footprint of the blocks, all the blocks, was less than 10% of all the era. The 90% was occupied by some green eras, which not so much quality, but also a lot of space was occupied by car parking like Rahmen. So we proposed here to introduce the idea that in parallel of the renovation, of the transformation, we could also have think to the question of the densification. Because what is surprising when you study these buildings carefully, and when you talk with the inhabitants, they always talk about too much density, because they feel compressed inside the building, because the space are small, the common space are small, and it's a kind of contradiction, because they feel compressed in the buildings when around the buildings there is so much empty space. So we started to think in that way that maybe a densification on the ground could allow to give more space, to extend the individual space. And maybe that this question of more density could be totally inseparable of giving more individual space. So we propose to, in that situation, to build 2 new wings for new dwellings on this space using the car parking. This land was already owned by the same owner, so we didn't have to buy it. It was already deserved by all the system, by networks, by electricity. There was nothing new to make, no new roads, no new streets. There was all the equipments in terms of schools, in terms of shopping. So we saw that it could be interesting, and not only for the building, but only for the neighborhood, to introduce this idea of densification. So we had 40 apartments, 40 dwellings in the blocks that could be extended, but also we could make 40 new apartments by these 2 new wings that we could have on each side. That was here the the car parking that could be introduced in a block with a green roof. And the process is really starting from the apartment itself. That was the existing, and one of the main problems in the apartments was the bathroom, which was very, very small, less than 3 square meters. And that was the main problem which was mentioned by the inhabitant, as well as maybe the size of the living room. So we proposed to remove the bathroom in the smallest bedroom. This one is 9 square meters, and to build an extension which was not only a winter garden, but also a new bedroom connected to the block, the apartment, by the winter garden. So the dwelling gained a new bathroom of 9 square meters with a window in better conditions. He wins a new bedroom, larger than the other one, a winter garden, and a balcony. It means that at the end, it's 33 square meters extra space that every dwelling can win in the process. And in terms of cost, with 40,000 euros, we could do that in terms of the cost of works. So it means that for the building itself, we could make this extension, and with the addition of the 2 wings, we could also make 2 new entrances, new elevators. One of the dwelling here in the existing block could be served by these new elevators. So it was also an opportunity to give more comfort to this common space, because there is only now 3 dwellings per level. And that was the project that we proposed, and which was accepted by the owner. And also finally the new construction, which was a new budget, gathered with the budget of the transformation, gave a bigger amount that allowed to make more than just only the renovation. So the 4 existing dwellings with the extensions. Here, this one, they have an extension here, and this one, they extend on the new wing. This one can gain a new orientation. And we expected, again, to change radically the image by doing this extension. So, and the idea was also that this building could be also the first step of better densification of the neighborhood. Only in this part, we had 312 housing with a footprint of 9.6%. And we proposed to make the same for all the buildings, that they could win more than 250 dwellings on a land which was already owned with all the equipments, without changing so much this green space in the middle, which was the most interesting green space, but just by covering the car parkings here and making additions on the blind walls of the construction. We used here also a steel structure, but totally prefabricated with a steel structure, but also prefabricated slabs with steel, mineral wool, and concrete. It's a process from ArcelorMittal. We had some difficulties because we didn't want, we calculated that it was possible not to protect the beams because they were integrated in the floors, but it was very difficult to let this idea accept by the firm of the control of the construction. So it took the construction stop for many months. The time that we could demonstrate that this calculation was valid. But we could go on the process of the construction, which could go quite fast. to build the structure. It's a kind of dry structure in front of the existing, but also for the new wings. And the building, step by step, the existing totally disappears in this new envelope. And at the end, the new building. So the new wings are completed since last December. And for the existing, we have, again, last problem to solve. And when we wanted to refurbish the inside, we found traces of asbestos in the rubbers behind the ceramics. So it's, again, necessary to have a special process to take away the asbestos. So it takes another 6 months to solve this problem. But in the meanwhile, the director of the social housing company has changed, and the new one was not so much involved in this question of densification. In the meanwhile, they have renovated all the other buildings in a very basic way, and I think that to continue the process of densification maybe is now delayed. And the new appropriation now for the inhabitants with the flowers on the balconies. It's social housing, but again, all the public social housing, so all the buildings are, the dwellings are rented. And this very open dwellings with this inside space, which is closed by sliding windows with double glass, thermal curtains, and this extension with a winter garden, which is not heated. It's in-between conditions, but these in-between conditions, they naturally prepare the outside conditions and inside conditions. And here in the winter garden, of course in France it's not very, very cold conditions, but we have more or less 7 degrees more than outside. The dwellings are much bigger than the standards, around 20% more interior surface, not including the winter gardens. And of course, the rents, they are calculated in function of the typology and not in function of the surface, because it must remain affordable for families who normally need social housing. And the very last project, this one is currently under construction in another scale. It's in Bordeaux, in the neighborhood of the 60s, Le Grand Parc. Le Grand Parc is 4,000 dwellings. It belongs to two different social housing companies. And we did a competition to work on these 3 blocks, one and this one, which is in total 530 dwellings for the transformation of this building. So we proposed the same ideas and what I explained just before. Here again, it's totally full up. There are no dwellings empty. It's now, when it was built, it was the suburb of the city, but now it's totally inside the city center with a lot of equipment, with transport, and also this city now has been integrated listed in the perimeter of UNESCO, because the city of Bordeaux is listed at UNESCO, and finally they decided to integrate this new neighborhood as a part, finally, of the city. So here we have a different situation than the 2 others, but anyway, we propose also to make extensions Extensions on only one side because the blocks are quite narrow. All the 2/3 of the apartments have a crossing orientation. This is a south, this is a north. So they have orientation south to north. And 1/3 has only one orientation, but orientated on south. And they are deserved by elevators and one corridor. So we propose to make an extension only on one side, because of course we could have done on both sides, but the budget is not very, very big. It's for 45,000 euros per dwelling. But this extension here, because we have, it's quite empty in front, is much bigger than the one in Paris, and we have 3 meters point 80. When in Paris we have 2 meters point 80, so it means nearly 1 meter more. So this the process from the existing with sometimes little loggias, building the extension, opening the doors or the handrails, and then the extension of the dwelling can be done. So we studied here again a process of building that could allow to disturb as less as possible the life of the inhabitants. So we arrived to a process of extensions, 5-day maximum of disturbance in front of the dwellings for the inhabitants of this dwelling. The interior works, mainly we refurbish the electricity, and we remake new bathrooms, and we make new plumbing. So it means that it's 5 days inside to renovate the bathroom, but every night we bring the water again. It means that the family, they can be outside during the day, but the evening when they come back, they can again use the kitchen and some elements of the bathroom. And then we have also some works as a new elevator. We renovate, we change the existing elevators, and also we close the fire exit, and we bring some new protections for the fire, because this building was built in the early 60s, and some regulation were very, very different. So we worked on this basis of this schedule of works. Electricity is 2 days per dwelling, but we could observe because we did some tests, and we could observe that now they take only 1 day. With a group of 5 workers, they can remake electricity in 1 day. And the process of construction with the existing, bringing the modules. Then when the modules are built, we need to build 3 levels, and then we can again operate on the extension. We take away the existing windows, we open the handrails, and then the facade of the winter gardens, and this is the final extension. So that was some renderings that we did, so that every room can be open on this extension. Even the kitchens, the living rooms. So this is the existing facade, and that was the transformation that we could propose. So the process of construction is started in last June. So this is the final, the renderings of the final situation. So we started by the smallest building, because some other works will start here. So that was the columns to support the 10 levels of the extensions. This one is 10 levels. The other big blocks are 15 levels. And the process of building the modules, they make 1 level a day. So the modules, they are made on the site, which is at 5 minutes from the construction work, and they bring these modules every day. Here the system of columns and the process which is going on. This picture was taken 2 weeks ago, and now the building is completed. And one picture from the extension. That was the prototype, which was done before. And the openings at the same, and the level of the floors, which are at the same level. So we are going on with this process, and here again, we have only 2 dwellings empty that we use every day when we need it to allow a family during the works to cook or to stay inside. But normally, every night they come back to their dwelling. And what is important in these renovations, it's not only interesting cases for how to renovate buildings, it's also a much broader, much more ideas that in the cities there are there are thousands situations like this one where we can bring better quality, where we can bring more. Here, this is in Paris, but it's important to make this work to be close to the floor, to be close to the situation, and not only looking to the city from the map. And when you do this work, you can not only renovate, but also find here and there some situation where it's possible to operate densification. And this densification has quality, but also is very safe, because it allows to use better everything we have in the city and not to extend too much. And for us, again, the question of density starts from better individual space. We are totally convinced, this is the same work that we did in Bordeaux, we are totally convinced that without giving more to the individual space, we cannot succeed in densifying the city. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lacaton. We now have the opportunity to ask questions. Maybe I can ask the first question. It's not very usual for architectural offices to do studies, basically. Yeah? What was the initial study, the Plus study, in combination with some university work? Or was it just a very abstract way to deal with the topic you are interested in?
No, it was our decision with Frédéric Druot, which is a good friend. We studied together, and we discussed for a long time about this question of demolition, renovation. And when this program was launched in France with this very big budget, for us it was really a shock, and we decided to do something. So we started to study, and after some months, because of course when you are alone you cannot go very far, but we could get a little funds, subsidies from the Ministry of Culture, but they give subsidies because there is a misunderstanding, because they thought that we will study the famous buildings. It means some buildings made by Le Corbusier or some, when we were really interested to work on the basic buildings. So when the Ministry of Culture itself at the time was very interested in the question, it's why it's allowed to support us. But when we finished the study, it was already done, and the other one was not taking care about that, and it was quite impossible to discuss again the question. But finally, we could go on, and nowadays, I think that these ideas are maybe better understood. There are maybe less demolitions, but the most important is already done, and of course, it's too late for this 150,000 dwellings. And also, what is also very disappointing is that even the renovation are nowadays made in the same way as they were done in the 80s. It means that we could also see that at 70%, the buildings demolished have been already renovated in the 80s. So it means that nowadays we do exactly the same. When I say we, it's not us, but in general. The renovation is done in the same way as in the 80s. It means that it's only insulation and new cladding. When the insulation in 80s was 10 centimeters, now it is 24, but it's exactly the same mistake. And it will not produce, it will produce the same effects. In 10 years, it will not sufficient to give a new life to buildings. So it's very important to think to that, and it's always a pity when to observe that we never take lessons what was done before.
Just a question. If you say the biggest damage has already been done because 150,000 apartments have been destroyed, what was the plan, the overall amount of dwellings that were supposed to be torn down? 300,000? How many was it?
I think it was planned 200,000.
Okay, so there's 50,000 left where you could still make a difference.
Yes, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we'll do it because now it's a crisis. There is no more money to.
But that's exactly the point. Your approach, as you showed, is about half as expensive as the approach of the government taking down a building and building a replacement building. Wouldn't there be a possibility now, under these very harsh economic conditions that France is going through, to make an argument that it's in the interest of the national economy, because this is public money that is spent, to actually apply your approach and your methodology, because basically the country is running out of money and it needs to make economies?
I think in theory you are right, but it's also important to understand that it's not only a question of architecture. Behind this question of demolitions, it's also, there are social questions, there are 30 years of social problems that politicians don't know how to solve. And in many times, demolitions is a quick action to make the problem disappear for a little while. And it's very important to understand that finally the question of architecture doesn't weigh so much in that question, because we can expose these projects 10 times, 100 times, and we do that for 10 years, a lot of time. And everybody agrees, but it's amazing to see that nowadays there is a so big gap between the discourse and the action, and we have to do with that. We don't agree with that. It's very difficult to accept, but it's the idea is always lauded, and the economy, but in the same time something else is done. So what can we do? I think that we could be very strong as architects if we were a lot to do that. We could be very strong to make these propositions. So I think it's important that we could continue to defend these ideas, to defend this architecture with all these problems. But in a way, it's modern architecture, and if we think that if we don't defend this architecture, it's maybe what we do nowadays, which will be considered the same in 20 years, 30 years with no value. So it's important to continue, even if we are very realistic on the real impact of these projects.
We all seem to accept without questions that your changes are an unquestionable improvement with all the aspects of summer and winter living and maintenance and all the rest of it. Are there studies, or is there one study available where you're looking for feedback from the users? What is their reaction? What are their feelings? What is their evaluation of this meant to be improvement? And what would be the drawbacks from which one could learn possibly to make possible mistakes not again? Are there any such studies?
We have of course some feedbacks, but they are they cannot make a statistic because it's only a few people. But from the block in Paris, for example, we have good feedbacks. I think that if you visit the building, you will find, of course, a lot of people who complain, but in a way they feel still better as they were before. So they know that they have better, but some of them still complain because they are sometimes the elevator is not working. It's not only the question of the project, it's also what is done after. This project in Paris, it has redeveloped association links between inhabitants, but we can see that now, 3 years after, the activity or the energy of this association is becoming lower. Because maybe it's, I don't know, but maybe that the owner doesn't make all what he should do to maintain also the quality of the energy and the life of this association, because it doesn't allow enough when they ask for using rooms, or if they ask for material for making a garden, it takes too long time to have material. So I think that of course it's the question of the project, but it's a question of how it works a long time after. So, of course we can evaluate what we could do in different way, but we never thought that it was a mistake to do that, because in any case the quality of housing has become much better, and this is a value which cannot be subtracted. So the other question then is much more a question of society, of how in our societies there is more responsibility given to the inhabitants to make organization, and maybe in France we have not this practice enough of giving more responsibility to inhabitants. We live in a country where the nation, the government has a lot of influence in many decisions, and we have to learn how to make it better. But it comes step by step, and here and there we can see that the people become more responsible, they organize associations. So I think that when you are in this kind of project with, at the beginning, a lot of risk, I think it's important to take this risk and to work carefully so that the risk remains acceptable. But it's very important to always to go in this way of innovation. In any case, we think that it's much better than just making technical innovations, because just by seeing how people have redeveloped the furniture, have reorganized the life inside, even if they complain, you can feel that for them there is a kind of better comfort. So we have no regrets, and of course we try to learn. Nothing is perfect, but we're trying to learn for the next.
I think this was a very nice ending. Thank you, Anne Lacaton. Thank you for being here tonight, and maybe we can see you tomorrow at the opening of the exhibition at 12 o'clock. Yeah.
Thank you.